Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm just going to give another moment to let some more people join, and then we will get started here. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. All right, and we are looking good. Welcome. My name is Carmen, and I am the training coordinator at the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple SBDC helps small businesses start and grow. We provide free one-on-one counseling and a variety of low to no cost webinars, and we are proud to be a part of the nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. You have joined us this afternoon for using videos effectively for your business, what works and what doesn't. A copy of today's PowerPoint and a link to the recording of this webinar will be sent out to all attendees. And while all attendees have been muted, we encourage you to post any questions in the chat or Q&A that we will take in the final 20 minutes of the presentation. And now I will turn the floor over to Gordon.
Hi, thank you very much. This is GordonDelGiorno, and I'm with a company called Film Brothers Productions, and we are out in Wilmington, Delaware, so about 30 minutes from Philadelphia. And I'm from a small sort of town. You know, when you think of Wilmington, it's certainly not Philadelphia. So a very competitive business atmosphere. Everybody's fighting for different dollars. So I know what it's like to be a small business owner. And I've been in this production business since 1999. So what I'm going to do is give you an overview. And this is a basic overview of simple ways to use video with your business. Then I'm going to do something, I think in about a month or 2 or 3, 4 weeks, where it's a little more comprehensive. We get into more of the details of it if you're interested in that and you like and you get some takeaways from today. So again, I'm Film Brothers Production. My brother and I started this with an idea for a big movie back in 1999. We saw the movie Clerks. We got excited and said, I think we can do better than that. If you don't know Clerks, that was Red Bank, New Jersey guy, Kevin Smith, who went on to big things. I'm still trying to chase that at this point, 20 some years later. So in my delusion, I thought we were going to do something. I ended up in about 2006 having to get more into doing videos for businesses. I saw where YouTube was starting to take off, and even now it's just a fraction of businesses really use video effectively, if at all. So I'm still busy doing this kind of stuff from a professional level, but what I am an advocate for is having small businesses use video by using their phones, and or others, maybe you want to buy some equipment that's a step up from a phone, but an iPhone now or smartphones have amazing capabilities nowadays, and they still are always developing them. So I'd love for you as a business owner to use my services, but I know sometimes it may not be cost effective. So we're going to get into all that. And so next we'll talk about escaping the retail mentality. Now, some of you may be new business owners, some have maybe been more established. I'm not sure what the demographic is here, but regardless, there's physical and virtual experiences. Now, if you have bricks and mortar and you have a business where you pay rent, or you have a store, a shop, or an office that you use where you engage customers, that's one thing. Then you have virtual experiences where you may, just have a website to work with and your social media. But there's a retail mentality, I call, especially with small business owners that come in, they start their business, and they set up a sign at their store or at their shop, and maybe they send out an email or something, and they wait. And they don't get business, and they start making excuses up that it's because of this or that, or the economy, or the mayor of our town doesn't support us, or whatever it is. And it's really about them. So, and I'm a small business owner. So, that's what I call escaping the retail mentality, where you set up a sign and think people are going to come. It's not going to happen. You really have to be proactive, reach out to people, invite people, and be ready for some no's, right? So that's when you're in the physical state. In the virtual state, the retail mentality I call it, is when you put up a website and then you put all, your wares or whatever you're selling or your services, and then you expect to drive some sort of SEO or something. It doesn't happen because people need to still be connected somehow. So that's what I call the retail mentality. So if you're in that, try to get out of that. And so a video is a great way to proactively go after your clients and potential clients, or keep a relationship going. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a pitch of whatever service or product you're providing. It can be something that's related to the industry. I know that, real estate agents that I know, I tell them, don't stop listing houses. Talk about a plumber, and talk about like when a pipe breaks in a house or something, and do a little video about, a plumber thing that might not even be yours. But that keeps people engaged, and your name can go on the back end of it. Oh, they are sort of a trusted source. They're not just pitching me product constantly. So, that's video can be used that way too, where, you could make little videos, if not yourself, you share other businesses and cross promote. So that's kind of my mentality about how to be more proactive. Advertising traps to start up a business are, a lot of times, with magazines, buy this ad space, or buy this, or boost these ads on different things, and you expect to get sales from that. It's really more branding. So, people get trapped sometimes with a limited budget, and then they eat up their marketing budget, and then it's gone. So these are just some things from small business point that I wanted to share with you based on my own experiences. I'm not an expert. I'm learning every day, and I've been in this 20 plus years. I find it really interesting when somebody on their website calls themselves an expert or a guru or something like, or an oracle I saw one time, which I find like really amazing. So I'm certainly not one of those, but I'm just trying to help and come from my experience. So power of video, let's talk about that. Look at this woman's eyes. This is just a photo now. Humans are visual. We are drawn mostly, there are some people that are totally audio, but most of us are visual. And when you have video, it brings a still photo to another level. So you can have pictures everywhere, but if you look at this woman's eyes, if we had video of her for even 5 seconds and her eyes just blinked once, that sort of can engage people even more. And this is the power of video. I really just wanted to put this up real quick. I'm sure you're already bought into video or you wouldn't be here. But really, it takes a photo to another level because of movement. And especially if you have some music underneath it or something, it draws people's senses and emotions. Humans are into multitasking. Info comes fast, attention spans are short. So 2/3 of the people would rather watch a video than read about a product or service online. So what I find even till today is small business owners, or any business owners, not just small, they write like a book, and it's on their website or on social media. I mean, my wife has a wine business, and I tell her, you're writing these books. I mean, who's reading that? I don't know, but she keeps doing it. And then she says, okay, maybe I shouldn't do it. I'll keep it short. So you got to be quick in this day and age. And video should be 15 to 30 seconds when used online, really. Now we're going to show you some longer ones just for the sake of, how these work and get put together. And sometimes you can put longer ones on your websites, or when you have a captive audience that you already sort of have them, then you can show longer videos to explain your services or your product or whatever you're doing. But generally speaking, when they're online, they got to be fast, or people they're going to check out. They're on to the next thing. Okay, your video return on investment. Now, this is from a source we had. We looked into this, and 80 to 90% of video marketers agree on these 3 things. That it gives positive results in lead generation, more traffic to their website, and directly increasing sales. Now, the one I'd be real careful of is to get, again, going into that sort of retail mentality of directly increasing sales. It takes a little bit of work. You might get the lead and more traffic, and then somehow follow up on that. And, when we get down the line, and I'm open for anybody at the end to contact me, and there'll be information about, look, how do I sort of really follow up? That's a whole nother thing, but I really want to stress that, putting a video up on your website or social media isn't going to necessarily get you sales. And but what it will do is increase your brand, and you have to follow up, and it's a two-pronged approach, I believe. Video is a huge part of it, but then it takes a person to follow up with another person. We're still humans, and this automation stuff, getting trapped into that, unless you've got an app that really goes, let me know about that, because I'd like to join in on that deal. Most of it's following up once these videos hit, get people engaged, and then move on to trying to close a sale. Okay, what do? I'm a business, whether it be a small business, big business. Do I hire a video company like Film Brothers, or do I do it myself? Now, I'm assuming most people are going to do it themselves because of cost, but we'll get into it further about the pros and cons of both, and that's what we'll do now. But you're able to do it now on iPhones and smartphones. And not all equipment, by the way, looks like that monster that the guy is using. I mean, that's definitely for a cinema movie type thing. You could have little camera things that shoot in 4K or 8K nowadays. And that's like, that's just beauty shots of a cinematic level. But let's just say I'm a small business, which you are, and I'm going to try to do this myself. But we'll talk about hiring a pro first. And you do a cost comparison. When I say that, there's people out there that charge thousands and thousands of dollars just for one little video. And then there's companies that anybody with a camera calls themselves a media company and say, I'll do it for a couple $100. So you really need to figure out who you're talking to when you are someone approaches you as a business saying, I can do video for you. Some at $200 or whatever the number is, they might get you a great video. I don't know. I'm not, but I'm at the point now where I'm charging into the thousands and thousands. But then I'm not going to say that somebody that's fresh out can't do a quality video. Who am I to say? I'm not an oracle. I'm not an expert on this. There's enough business for everybody. So I don't get too worried about that. But you really need to compare and see what their samples are, what things that they've done. The one sale test is basically saying, look, how big, am I selling window treatments or something like that, where I'm going to make a couple $1,000s on one hit? Or am I selling lattes in a little coffee shop? Or am I selling some, clothing line or something like that on the internet? If I can't make what I pay in a video from a professional in one sale, it's going to be hard to recover that money back. So then you got to start thinking about doing it yourself, just because of cost. Unless you can really forecast the next year what you're going to do with your sales, and if you get one a month based on these videos. Technical expertise you're going to get most of the time when you hire a pro, but not all the time. Like I said, everybody can call themselves a media company or can do video. There's editing involved, which a lot of times when you do it yourself, you have limited editing options. You're going to get that. You're going to get graphic design, 3D animation if somebody's really, can really do slick things. The last thing I would say is you have an unknown marketing versus video production. A lot of video production companies you hire, basically that's what they are. They do video, and they're what we call in our industry gearheads, and I'm not saying this guy is one of them, but you have somebody that is so into that kind of technical stuff, they don't even know about marketing. They don't think about marketing. And when you hire a company, you want them to think about your audiences and what your messaging is going to be. And you don't get that, I think, most of the time with a video production company. So that's something to think about when you're thinking about hiring. Now, if I'm going to do it myself, right, it's most of the time it's cost effective, right? Most of the time. But if you look down the bottom, your time spent versus other business responsibility, is it? Because once you get really into this video and you have operational duties, marketing duties, sales duties, maybe you have an employee or two, then you start saying, do I have time to even do this? So that becomes an issue. And then you really have to think about how you're going to do it. But let's just say you're going to do it yourself, right? Camera, phone, tablet, or some sort of consumer level camcorder you can get inexpensively, but you have limited editing capabilities most of the time. However, there are things now on phones as well as on your computer laptops that you can take that footage and import it in and do some editing of it so it's not so long, or maybe there was somebody who coughed throughout or whatever, and you need to edit it down so it's it's viewable really. You can get real-time events and happenings, or you pop your phone up, which is great. If something's happening and you're at a chamber meeting or you're in a networking group and you want to get something, or you're out at an event somewhere that relates to your business, then that's what's great about it, rather than hiring a pro, which has got to be all sort of set up ahead of time most of the time. And then again, it's what's your time spent versus your other business responsibilities to do this, because it does take time. Who is your audience? Now, we talked about, when you're thinking about your video and you're going to do this, right? A lot of people just sort of go out and say, well, I'm going to talk about my product and things like that. And I find that, you'll see a CEO of a company talking on a video saying, I'm the CEO of whatever brand, and we're really proud of, we have 17 locations and this and that. And all they are doing really are talking about themselves, right? And then you go, well, what about me, right? I mean, you're not probably saying that, even you just maybe check out and say, this person's on an ego trip, or maybe, they're just really focused on their company. They're not making it a you environment. And I think that you really need to make a you environment when you're going after customers. You got to make it about them. And so who is your audience? You see all these different people in here. They come from different backgrounds or different age groups or different demographics. They probably have different likes and dislikes. So you think about what are their hot buttons. So when you're really talking about marketing a little bit here to kind of set up your video, because if you got to get that together before you even get to the video part. If you don't do that, you're kind of shooting craps here. You're shooting dice. So, what are their sensitive spots? You have to be really super careful nowadays, especially online, about what you say and how it's framed and who you're going to offend. And so a lot of that has to be in what we call pre-production of the video, which, it's sort of not storyboarding so much, but just getting some even basic things together. What is your message? Again, I like to make it about them. I talked about Film Brothers a little bit, but I didn't want to just talk about how great we were, and then hopefully a lot of people will be signing off of this. So, make it about them and about what you're going to do for them, hit their emotional need. Now, emotional needs are interesting because, you think about emotional need as like somebody's, falling apart and crying and, you need to help them out. No, emotional needs go way further than that, especially in business. When you think about when somebody, you're going to help them save time or money or aggravation, there are emotions. There's emotional attachments to that. And, the thing about saving somebody time, maybe they could have more time now with their family, which is an emotional need, or in their business, they're going to save time. And that, just helps them to the money and the aggravation and everything sort of wrapped together. But those kinds of narratives, those kinds of messages are important when you start to think about making your video. How you're going to make their life easier, how they're going to be happier. If you wear these clothes that I'm selling, how much sexier you might look, your self-worth, gain the edge and win, all these different hot buttons that people, are motivators for people and their emotional needs. So really think about those as you're setting up your video. What's the purpose of your video? Now there's video styles, okay? And I've broken it down into 3 basic styles to make it simple. There's promotional, which is an overview of your products or services. And that is, if you have a product or services, you want to show an overview. And again, what it's going to do for them. Remember, what's their emotional need? So you're going to make maybe something like that. A demo, which I'll show you an example in a little bit, how a product works or service works. And so with that, you have a chance sometimes to sell it too, and what it's going to do for them, if they use this. And then event is catching the moment in real time, which is, most of the time catching your iPhone and being at an event and you say, this would be great for my business and my potential customers, showing, something relatable. So those are the three styles. So you can use a mobile phone or tablet for video, as you can see. Phone's a lot easier, but the tablets, sometimes people love using those. I know my kids do. Oops. Okay, so here's some basics if you're going to do it yourself. The first thing is, and this is like really, really can turn people off, is horizontal versus vertical. Now that's when you, if you're vertical, you're going to have, if you look at the honey buns, you see how crunched it looks. You can see the bent up aluminum foil, and you get that black on both sides when you do that, called portrait mode. And then when you turn it horizontal, when you're doing video especially, then what you do is, and when you go a little closer, you show less, you show a little bit more of the honey buns, and they're a little more up close and personal, like the woman's eyes in the picture. If this was a video and you were moving, and you had somebody's hand going in and putting on the frosting on top of this, that would be a little more appealing than that top view there, where that's a vertical one. And so it's not just about that though, it's also about the black on both sides that, when you see these YouTube videos a lot, people are having it vertical. So rule 101 is turn it to horizontally, because you don't have to deal with all that. Now, lighting your subject, a lot of times you're going to be using the natural light. So you're going to look for shadows. You don't want shadows in there. It's not a horror movie, unless you're selling, those kind of products that have a dark, product, or service. You definitely want a light from the back, meaning usually, let's say you're using the sun should be at your back typically. And just as long as it's not blowing somebody's eyes out, it's hitting, the lighting is hitting, or light in the house or something. So you want to make sure you're lighted correctly. Otherwise they become silhouettes, they'll be sort of, you won't see their face all the way. So, and in real time, that's hard to do sometimes when you're doing an event and you're just kind of getting the event. But basically, that's what you want to do. Framing your shot, we talked about that. The one at the bottom's framed a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than the top one. And it's the same thing. I just cropped out the metal a little bit. And, even I think it's a little more like almost like a shot in a cookbook. It's not that great of a shot. I'm not saying it's tremendous, but if you had to choose between the two, I think hopefully you would like the bottom one. A wide versus close up. Now, if I went wide on this and showed the outlet in the wall being plugged in with the coffee maker and, the dirt on the other side of the wall here, people's eyes would go to things like that. But when you go up close and personal with an object, if you can, then people really focus in on that object. So think about these things when you're putting together your framing. And if you're taking audio, like if somebody was talking about, we have what's called the 2-foot rule. If you have a microphone, a shotgun microphone, or some kind of mic, make sure it's within 2 feet of that person. Otherwise, you're catching potential sound and noise from other areas of the location where you are, especially if like air conditioners are running or generators from above. The closer you get, the more you cut that off. So that's the filming basics. That's very, very basic, but they're important rules to follow, I think, to get something of quality out there, especially when you're doing it yourself and you're not really in the business and, you're an expert in another field. This is the basics. Now, editing your video, if you're going to do that. Now, if you're going to do a 15 or 30-second video real quick and throw it up on either YouTube or Facebook or your site, that's one thing. Then you got to kind of know you get it right, and then you do it, right? You might do it 3 or 4 times if you're doing, filming one of your products or some sort of service thing or some sort of action that's taken. But if you're editing it and you're going to take it from your phone, usually it's got to be 30 seconds or less. But nowadays there are, these mail drops and stuff like that where you can get it to wherever you're going to edit it. If you're not doing it on your phone itself, they have these little things on your phone where you can clip, but you're making basic clips usually with that. It's difficult to download sometimes. I covered that. Again, the attention span, you want to keep it 30 seconds. If you're a lot of social media limitations, I think you got 60 seconds on Instagram, and that they won't let you do something, at least it used to be. And you have very limited polishing options, like putting your logo and branding, any music underneath and text. You can do some of that, but if you really want to make it slick, like what I would suggest, that whatever you do, get a logo and an intro and then a call to action at the end of your video that's maybe 5 or 7 seconds on each end, or where now you just kind of put the donut in the middle every time you put a video and it becomes a template for you. And then you can kind of put that out and you have consistent branding of your company then. So, but when you do it yourself, you may get a little bit of help, even a little bit of help with a professional to set it up for you so you're ready to go when you do it yourself videos and you can have that consistent branding. I think that's very important. It's something to invest into. But do you have the time? Are you busy so busy that you can't do this? Then you have to think about, do I hire somebody to do this? But prepare all this, ahead of time. I'm a true believer that you really have to prepare. I don't think you have to storyboard out every shot and all that and come up with these beautiful storyboards that you're never probably going to use anyway. Some people do that, but then, you're wasting more time doing that. So it can be time consuming, but if you take these basic steps on these last few slides, which you're going to get these slides, I think you can pull this off yourself. As much as I want you to hire me, but I can't make this a pitch session about Film Brothers, or can I? Filmbrothers.com. That's enough. I won't be saying any more about me. Where do I post these videos? Social media platforms. Post, asked to share, or pay to play. Facebook is crazy right now. You put a certain word in and you get flagged. I mean, it's just it's really wild out there. Everything that's going on in the world. But if you post and ask to share, and I usually make it a question. Anytime if you ask a question, put a question mark on the end of something that you put out on social, people tend to react. We're all used as humans to answer the question. If we just make a statement out there like, I'm selling this, or this is my business, or whatever, and we don't ask a question at the end, how are we really engaging them? Most people just go away. But if you ask them a question, like, could you please share, ? A lot of people will share. I mean, people do want to help. There are nice people in the world, regardless of what is happening a lot of the time. So I think asking a lot of questions when you're posting, like, or would you use something like this? Or is this something that is of interest to you? I mean, ask some questions when you post these things to your audience and your potential audience. Now you can do a pay to play, which is boosting and stuff like that. But again, there's cost to that, and you hit certain demographics, and then there's a lot of unknowns with that too. So, that's something to put a little more investigation into if you want to go that route. But you may want to build your audience that way by, hitting certain regions, even geographical regions. Websites. Obviously, if you have a website, you can put videos on websites all day long. And then there's the proactive part, which it's person-to-person email. Once you get a link, if you have a YouTube channel and then it creates a link every time that you post or you upload to that, that's your link for your site. If it's a YouTube site, and I think that's Google searchable type thing because they're tied in together. Then you can send that person-to-person to an email to a potential client that you maybe met out at a network event, or you have lists that you want to hit people with personal emails, not these mass emails. I mean, if you want to do that, that's great. But I like person to person. If I have a lead on a client and you do a person to person email or text is huge. And I have IM on Facebook Messenger. I do business just on Facebook. You have to start to figure out how people react. You know, some people are great on text. They'll never answer your phone call. They'll never listen to their voicemail because it's always full. But text, and you text them a video, hey, check this out, see what you think. You know, that's very powerful when it's one-on-one stuff. You throw a mass thing out there and want to take the easy route. Again, that retail mentality. I just sent a mass email out. You know, you may get likes, you may get looks, you may get opens, but if you really want to close the deal, close the sale, this kind of stuff that I'm talking about here is stuff that's really going to be powerful for you. If you send out a visual, that's not like explaining something on the phone or typing out an email or a text and people trying to figure out what that means. When you show it in a video and you show people go, oh, I see it now, I get it now. I mean, otherwise it's just a concept, it's an idea. Oh, maybe, but, and people just, they don't ask a lot of questions. The people asking the questions are the people that are in control. And that's not controlling people, that's controlling the path of where you want to take this, which is to a potential sale. So if you think about sales and think about video, think about this kind of proactive approach. And again, I could do a whole thing on this one day, you know, down the line on just, you know, kind of how to be proactive with video. These are some sample links, and I'm going to show you, well, you can look at these on your own. There's a vertical portrait and a horizontal type frame video I did of some jewelry, and very homemade looking. And then there's some client-based, fast-paced ones and stuff that you can look at based on what I spoke about today. I'm not going to get into the video, but like showing them, because I think there's a lot of people on and there may be questions. So I want to kind of get to that a little earlier. I like to get to that because I don't want to keep babbling on. So if the moderator wants to chime in, or how you want to do this, let me know.
Hi, thank you so much. So yeah, we can leave a few minutes for questions here. The chat looks pretty empty at the moment, okay, but I will leave some time for that. And as I have the floor for a second, I'm also going to post a link in the chat to a survey. It takes less than a minute to complete, and it is required by our funders, so that we can continue to offer these workshops. And we love hearing your guys' feedback. So if everyone could take a moment to fill that out, I would be very grateful. Could you speak to using both stills and video in the final product?
Sure, that's a great question. I'm a lot of times, especially when you're doing services are tough to get what we call B-roll, which means you know, some kind of visuals if you're talking about something or about the product. I would not use, I would do the ratio 3 to 4, which means that for every 3 video shots you have, and you could put in a photo. And because if you put too many photos in back to back, it looks like a PowerPoint. And you lose. So I would say about 25% is good ratio that you can put in. If I was doing 60 seconds of a video, you know, I don't know what the math is on that. You put 3 or 4 in, you're good. And you also can use them timed to the music. If it's a fast-paced video you're doing and you're putting some music in, it's boom, boom, boom. Then you could you actually could use photos more because the timing of on the beat of the music. And again, on the next session we do, I'm going to get into more examples and on how these components work and show examples of that. Go ahead. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Nada's asking just who you are. She said, does anyone know who the speaker is? And Lori's asking, what do you think about explainer videos on a website? And is it better to DIY or hire a company to do?
Explainer videos, meaning explaining the products and and how they work, like that kind of thing, or explaining what they're going to get. I need more clarification. Either way,
Yeah.
it depends. Like I said in the thing in the earlier, it depends on your budget and what you have to work with. I mean, you're going to get people with crazy money saying, "Oh, I'll do it for $3,000. Your video $5,000," and you're going to get people to say, "I'll do it for $300." And then what are you getting for that? You know, so it's hard to say if you do it yourself or not. I would look through this PowerPoint when you get it and send me an email on that, and I can get into a further discussion with you about that. I'm happy to do it. But that's really a broad question.
Okay. Next question from Andrea. Could you provide info on using music, ASCAP/BMI costs rights?
Well, if you're going to use music that is like famous music, I mean, even anything that's like covered under those clearinghouses, it's a ton of money. It's a ton. It's like, I just looked into it myself for a big movie I did, and I'm like, I can't. What I would do is if you're just looking for something that is a theme-based music, go to Audio Jungle or Envato and get it for $30 a month, and you have a library of everything that you want. If you're looking to use a famous song that's copyrighted, unless you got tens of thousands of dollars, I would forget it, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you. Heather is asking, what is better, music as a background or people speaking? What is better, music as a background or people speaking? Do you find that one connects with people more than the other?
Well, here's the thing it's a good question. I think here's the thing about that. Music really drives the piece. Something ambient sounding, it doesn't have to be, but you can use a combination of both. And, you know, if you're talking about something and music's underneath, there's a couple things it covers. One, it drives the piece. Otherwise, it's dead air behind that. And a lot of times, no matter how good the speaker, if they're on too long, it's just people check out. But music can drive it if it's marrying that with the visual and the music, and then people get more engaged that way with somebody talking. Now, there is a sensational style video which has no talking in it and just music and visuals. And that's kind of like, okay, you got me. I'm excited about seeing it. And at the end of it, you put contact us here at this number or website or whatever. So I think, again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with that. But I think you can do both for sure. I do it all the time with videos. But music is everything. But if you have somebody just talking, a lot of times, let's say you were in a noisy area and you didn't quite get a good sounding area, the music's going to drown that out too, where if you have a buzzing going on or something where you recorded, and that's going to annoy the hell out of people, and they're going to just stop the video. So it's functional too, not just subliminal.
All right. Timani, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, asks, how do you record for multiple platforms with limited equipment, example, YouTube and Instagram, whereas YouTube is horizontal and Instagram is vertical video?
I think it doesn't really matter. Again, if you really want to look like a homemade video, do it vertically, because that's what it's going to look like. It looks like you made it on everybody knows you made it on your phone. You have a chance that if you turn it horizontally, is that people will not even care or even give it a thought. I think it lends a little more credibility to a quality if you do it horizontally and those black sides are cropped out. It's just, you know, it's kind of like, okay, if I'm representing my company and I show that, then they're going to say, oh, they might be some rinky-dink little company, and you lose credibility. If you do it horizontally and you do it well, there's a chance that, you know, it doesn't even becomes obsolete. They don't care. They don't even think about it. But it's like a big red flag if I see that. Maybe I'm in the video business, but people will say, oh, they did that on their phone. And, you know, I don't know if that helps, but that's what I would say. Always go horizontal. I'm a stickler on that. I mean, that's my number one thing.
Okay, thank you. And Anonymous says, hi, thank you for the tips, super helpful. What would be your advice to someone with no video recording experience? How to prepare, how to test the quality of my video?
Well, that's a good question. Just take this this PowerPoint when you get it, and look, follow those steps. If you have any questions, anybody can shoot me a note. I'll respond. But play it back and listen critically. And once you do it, listen for the sound first. If the sound is buzzing and it's annoying to you, it's going to be annoying to everybody else. That's number one. Get to a quiet space if you're going to make these, if you can, right? So the sound is everything. Once a fifth grader told this fifth grade teacher that I know, who thought she was really great at film and all, and the fifth grader said, when she said, what's the most important thing in a movie? And she said the sound, and she laughed at her. This teacher laughed, said, oh, are you kidding? And in the end, though, she really put her foot in her mouth, because it is the sound. If the sound is off and something's wrong, people check out no matter how good the content is. It's just annoying. And that happens all the time with some sort of background. So do that first. Get your framing right, go horizontal, and go as tighter is better. When you go loose, there's too many things people's eyes can go to. When you go wide, unless it's necessary to show everything, go as tight as you can without cutting a person's head off. You know, if it's a person or an object. That's my basics.
Okay. Are there social medias that you should avoid when advertising? TikTok, Snapchat, etc.
That's a real tough one for me, because it's about the audience, right? It's about who is the audience I'm going after. So, you know, I'm not against any social media that I think are crooks or ripoffs, or, you know, I would avoid these, because like my daughter, you know, she's young, she's on the Snapchat and all that stuff, and TikTok. There's a market there. If I was marketing to certain individuals, I just think it's difficult right now with social media, because they really have put the clamps on, even this year, on your reach. Like, you don't know who you're reaching. I mean, I've got 5,000 Facebook friends. I'll put something out and it says, seen by 35 people, you know, oh, I must have to boost this thing. And things change constantly. So I'm not the expert on that. So talk to another guru or oracle, because I'm not the best, because it changes so much.
Okay. Are there any resources we can access for framing and lighting basics that you would recommend?
It's interesting, because I'm a producer. I'm less of a tech person, even though I have a film company. Most of my people are contractors that I've worked with over the years, even though I know how to edit, and I'm editing it right now, actually, my movie. So I think B&H up in New York is the biggest probably wholesaler or retailer of equipment and stuff like that. They probably have some links. They're up in New York City. I bought from them several times over the years. So you may start there, and they'll get, you know, from consumer level to professional level. But I would start there just on the equipment. As far as tips and stuff like that, if you send me an email, I can get one of my contractors to give you some links. Just send me an email on that.
Cool. All right. And besides that, we are looking pretty good in the chat. So if you have any final thoughts, anything final to close us out here?
My final thoughts are, if you want to see samples, look at some of those samples and write some notes. I'm happy to, again, take any emails. Again, look at your markets before you just start making videos, and don't make them about yourself so much and your product and stuff. Think about the audience. I'm a marketing person with sort of film and video attached. Video production companies, usually most of them, do just that, video production. But they're not thinking about, what am I shooting? Even the people I work with right now, it's like, unless I'm guiding them along, they're just getting the shot. That's all they think about. And so as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, you really need to think about your audience always. And my partner, who I'm doing a movie with right now, he gets annoyed at me, because I'm like, well, I don't think the audience is going to grasp that. oh, it's about the audience again. So I'm not on an ego trip about my own products and services. So that's what I would leave everybody with, is always think about your audience when you're making these videos, how they're going to take this. And I think that's important. And again, the next time around, if you're interested and you've got some useful information from here, I'm going to do another session where I talk a little further about the components of it and the shots, and show some samples while we're doing it. While I'm talking, I'm going to show a few samples and break down a video, like break it all down with all the components. So that's the next time around if you're interested.
And I will post that registration link in the chat as well.
Okay.
We actually have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on the voiceover, using my voice or using a professional?
That's a great question, because voiceovers, I have this all the time with my clients. I talk about it. And voiceovers are tricky because, let's say, everybody, I think subliminally, that looks at a video, watches one, they want to trust the person they're talking to, or that's talking to them. So if they can't see them and make a determination, and they hear them, it's like, is that just the voiceover guy they hired? And do you have credibility when that happens? Now, if you're the owner and you introduce yourself in the voiceover, that probably lends more credibility if you make it about them, and you're not just talking about yourself the whole time. So again, it's tricky. I don't use voiceover a lot. I do a lot of on-camera stuff where you see the person for 5 seconds talking, and then their voice goes and continues, and then you see all the images about the product or service or anything relatable to that, so that their voice keeps going, because then they can see who that person is, and hopefully you can gain somewhat of credibility or trust, or both, right in the first 5 or 7 seconds. If you do straight voiceover, you run the risk of that not getting credibility, especially if you hire somebody, unless you hire somebody because it's like some corporate thing, and a lot of corporate will do that, and then it comes off as canned. I'm not a big believer in voiceover unless it's the person that owns the company and you can create some sort of credibility with it.
All right, and now we are looking good. As a reminder, everyone will be getting this PowerPoint and a recording of the session. If you had to hop off early or hopped on late, it will be sent in a follow-up email. And we are looking pretty good. So Gordon, thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us.
All right, before you go, everybody, somebody asked, who am I? Who is this person? I'm like the Wizard of Oz. I'm behind this, this curtain here. So just look me up. I'm all over the internet, filmbrothers.com or whatever. But I never answered that question, so I wanted to answer that. I don't know who I am. Still learning. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're okay. That's a good answer, honestly. All right. Okay, we're looking good. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.